he pressed the red button and removed himself.
Nice. He could have warned us, don't you think?
Yeah, he could
Sweet.
have.
What on earth just
He could
happened?
have. Hey, Chiquillo.
Wow.
Are we still live?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I literally hit record, and it just some error message came up, and I was like, "Well, that's the end of the show."
Yeah.
We've
And
joked
this is
about.
why you should buy Riverside.
Okay, back to the intro. Welcome back, guys. How was we actually had another break last week due to my own comings as I was away in on the Greek island of Corfu. I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but a very beautiful place of the earth. And I want to share something which was quite interesting, which I've been telling a few people about my trip over there, because I guess people in the US maybe are not familiar with this, the dynamics in that part of Europe. So anyway, I went out on a boat, and on the left hand side, whilst driving around on this boat, you have Greece, which is like a nice island. Sorry, you've got Corfu, an island of Greece, pretty well built up. Lots of nice villas, hotels, and so on and so forth. And literally over the other side, in shot, you can see it very clear. You have Albania, and out on the Albanian side, it's just like you could almost say it's desert. Like nothing is really there. It's just totally
Lots of opportunities.
derelict, potentially. But what was kind of strange to experience and feel was that you had like a perfect snapshot of two political ideologies in front of me. One side you have communism. I think Albania up until early 2000s or around about that period was very much a communist state, and Greece obviously not
European Union. You don't know what's
European
worse.
part. So yeah, and so it was weird to see. Obviously, you read about it and you see it in the news and whatnot, but actually experiencing it in person was refreshing. So
The best way
there's
to
mine.
learn about Albania is the first Taken movie with Liam Neeson.
Oh yeah, wow! I remember going to see that in the cinema.
Yeah.
What's
The
the
star
title?
Taken.
Taken. Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, I'm
Taken
joking.
too.
That's not the best way to
Yeah.
learn about Albania, but
Have you seen any interesting technologies on construction sites over there? Is it like reinforced
Albania.
concrete and nothing else?
I don't think I might have seen one or two startups, but that's like out of 18,000 or so. What I have seen is sometimes a software engineering team located out of Albania. It's actually a fairly and deceptively high quality source of software engineers that are well educated, be it well trained or academically trained, super hungry, quite compatible with the work ethic and speaking the language, etc. So it's actually for some of the companies that I have seen a good engineering talent pool.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's also lots of outsourcing for from the western part to there over there. Owen, when you were
It's quite
there,
up and coming. I would also just add, Martin, before you ask the question, that a lot of the labor force, I don't know if this is true also in Germany, Patrick, but certainly the labor force for construction projects is, I don't want to say dominated by the heavy Albanian workforce over here in the UK, London specifically.
Polish, Albanian, Romanians.
Yeah, so from you will have all kinds of variations, and so I don't think you can give like a absolute kind of judgment. We'll see everything everywhere, but within Germany, I think Albania is not a deeply concentrated pocket of the labor and the skilled labor on construction sites. That would be more further east rather than south. So it's interesting to hear that seems to be the case on the island.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to ask Owen, did you see, or what those sites do look like there? Is it like reinforced concrete, core,
The,
and
the construction sites?
Yeah.
I mean, I had 7 days inside of a hotel, so I didn't do
Okay.
too much.
Out of concrete or out of plywood?
Well, we have a few questions to ask later, because let's go through the structure for the show, then people will understand. So, talking of a trip to Greece, and as I was out there, and also the episode that we released just before this one, I was having AC installed, and then an article came out on the Financial Times about the impact of heat on productivity, which I found interesting. And then I also found, whilst researching for today's show, about this extreme heat and how it impacts safety on construction sites and tech solutions that might be tackling this. So we'll dive into that. Patrick, you released the Q2 funding analysis of 2025. And then we'll have two call-ins today. We have Sean Peterson from Super Seed. They just raised a 10 million seed round, Super seed round. And they are building an alternative to plywood, which is fascinating to hear, as plywood is such a core material in the building materials stack. Wow, I don't think I've ever used that statement before. Then we'll have Mo. Mo's been on here before, founder of Hollow Builder. I still think one of our best performing episodes to date, actually. People very much enjoyed listening to Mo, probably because he's not afraid to hold back on his opinion.
And the collection of sneakers in the background.
Yeah. So we have him. And then yesterday, Martin and I embarked or engaged on a voice. It's like what would you say it was, Martin? Communication development course
workshop.
or voice? Yeah, workshop. Mm-hmm. Good term. And we have some exercises that we have been set to do 5 minutes a day. So maybe we'll use the 5 minutes at the end of this show to share some of our communication lessons with our audience here. So, okay, let's dive on in. So I found, full disclosure, there's this article that came up about from a company called Periweather. And this company, they produce technology to track weather. So I don't know how biased this report is going to be. I always find it interesting when technology companies release some kind of research, because I'm not sure how objective the findings, or definitely the narrative behind the findings, can be. But nevertheless, there are some interesting points in there which I've uncovered. So I'm just going to read off the screen here, which is from the article, which says that 89% of construction firms report a drop in productivity as temperatures rise, with the average site losing 4 to 6 hours of productive time per week due to heat. This loss translates into an estimated $5 billion in annual schedule overruns and associated morale costs across the industry. And furthermore, 59% of firms admit to having missed the project deadline specifically because of heat. Do you believe it?
That's a great excuse to have.
Say have what?
I think great excuse to have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So what is this app doing? They are helping to schedule the construction works due to or factoring the heat, right?
Workforce planning based on extremes of weather.
I don't know. I think the idea to me is very, very difficult to even think about implementing on construction site. I worked 2 years on construction sites back in Poland in one of the largest construction companies over there at that time, Skanska, and we worked in heat. But if you were to even think about delaying or moving the works that would have to happen just because there is 35 degrees on site, that wouldn't end well and sit well with the project schedule. So I'm actually scratching my head when I hear this, that management of a heat will boost the productivity or decrease the delays. I just can't see it working this way, because every time you will have 30 degrees on site, you will have people, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, because it's too hot. So I don't know. For someone who's been on site, I just can't see it working. If you know, it's I think it's a nice to have idea, but.
So I just want to get you on the record, Martin, because there's different ways to interpret your pushback here. Mm-hmm. Are you saying, hey, I cannot believe that the higher the temperature, the lower the body functions, and thus the productivity decreases, and it's all mental, and people don't want to work and find excuses like that? Or are you saying, hey, I don't believe that when heat is higher, the project is delayed because of it, because if it's not delayed by that, it's another reason. And so there will always be a next bottleneck in the project. So saying what they say here, hey, it's 5 million in delays because of heat, is actually stupid, because it would have been another reason for the same delay later down the line. Which of the two are you saying?
More towards the second one. Yeah, I think that, if like heat has been on this planet has always been, right? So, and people has always been building it. There are ways to mitigate the heat, and people manage it on sites by providing lots of water, shelter, or having more people doing same activity. So there are ways to mitigate it. But what I can't see is, we are not going to do this particular sequence of works right now because it's 32 degrees, and I just can't see how this is going to improve the productivity on sites or reduce the delays. It's completely counterintuitive. And with weather as it can be predicted, like who would have predicted that in England in the last 5 weeks we will have such a beautiful weather, 32 degrees?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I just don't buy this idea. That's my take, really.
So if it's closer to the second point, then I couldn't prove it, but I have some. I would understand why someone says that. If it's not this reason for a delay, it will be another reason for the delay. It's basically bottleneck theory, right? So if you remove one bottleneck, the next bottleneck becomes the bottleneck. So yeah. I would have a sympathy for someone saying that on a let's say meta level. If you had said the former, then I would have slightly different reactions. I mean, there's reasons why peak performance among the most well-trained people on the planet, like top performing athletes, is different when they play in 35 degrees versus when they play in 25 degrees. There is a proven difference in that. It might also be the same reason why the further near the equator you go, the less productivity you will typically find historically. There will be less infrastructure, less buildings, maybe there will be less farms, etc. It becomes really, yeah.
And
so
I completely agree with that. Yeah, completely agree with that. I just think that it's just another excuse that things cannot be done. And what it will end up happening is that the schedules will be delayed and it will be overextended because of implementation of these things. I think construction is a tough business, especially for those who work on site and those who manage on site. And there should be ways for them to mitigate this heat. But things need to keep moving on, because I think this is one of the things that we can have in the Western world, that we can keep making up this kind of stuff. And this it is just another excuse not to do things, rather than find ways to get things done smarter, and risking less people, or risking less human resources who are subject to heat. Yeah. So I just can't see.
What if I told you a statistic from the report which says heat-related occupation. Construction is responsible for 36% of all heat-related occupational fatalities. So it's a matter of life or death.
Entirely believable.
Okay, that's fair. So how do we make it less than the second one in the row?
So this is it.
How this will impact everything else in terms of schedules and. So the answer here is that if we implement heat management, so it's basically means that people will not work or will not do certain things because it's hot weather, then the costs of things and the schedules will be extended. Yeah. I just don't think this is the right way to avoid.
It's an interesting point what you're saying, because I suppose in climates like in the Middle East where the heat is extreme, that
Like I
if you
said,
look at
it's a privilege of the Western world that we kind of come to making up this stuff this way. Yeah, because in the other parts of the world things are completely different. And I'm not saying that people should be working in this condition, but there are ways to mitigate these things. People work
Go,
at night.
Patrick. What are you saying?
Yeah, I don't think you can say that, Martin. I mean, have you looked at a map of the United States? I mean, if you work in any of the southern states in the United States, it's between May and late August, early September. You know, it's very, very difficult to work outside too. Just and then some will be humid, some will be dry, but try actually working in Arizona or New Mexico in August. Like, it's a nightmare. It's southern Spain. It's the same problem, right?
Yeah.
If you go Greece in summer, I mean, oh my God, I wouldn't. And then, by the way, we're only talking heat. I'm not even talking the risk of the sun on your skin. I mean, that's another type of long-term risk that you're having. I don't think it's a Western world kind of a privilege. I think, maybe Scotland has less of that problem, but overall, it's getting more difficult everywhere.
Yeah.
I think you need to consider it, because when people's the whole premise behind where this article is stemmed from is actually health and safety versus specifically I mean, it's related to the weather, this app definitely, but it's more about the health and safety of people. And when you think about it like that, then applications like Periweather and what they're doing seems like there's a good use case there, because as far as I understand, what their app enables is if there is extreme heat approaching, then it will give recommendations on how much, like what the work schedule should be. So should you be working for 30 minutes in this heat to not endanger yourself? Should you only be working for 10 minutes, and so on and so forth, thereby reducing the risk for the people working on site. However, maybe there is some stuff here from Martin's point that if everyone does oblige by these rules, then you are going to notice a lack or a lowering of productivity, output, so on and so forth on construction projects. And I do think that if you are a contractor and you're going to your client or your employer, whoever it might be, with the excuse that the weather has caused us a delay on the project, it's a very difficult case to prove. There are mechanisms to do it. But it's not that people I think people's reaction is very skeptical when you say, "Oh, we were delayed by 6 weeks because of the weather." So
it's an excuse. It's an excuse. Yeah.
The flip side is you say, "Look, we need more people on site because our workers can only do 10-minute shifts because the heat is so intense." And who's paying for that?
I saw an interesting innovation a couple of weeks ago, actually, completely counterintuitive to most of the venture world, where a doctor had developed a kind of, not the fabric directly, but a kind of granule that you can weave into fabric, headbands, shirts, whatever, right? Trousers. And this granule is able to absorb the body heat and resorb it to the outside as water. And so that, when you put it on your skin, actually cools down your body substantially, several degrees. And it can be loaded for 6 hours. So it actually works nicely for an entire construction work shift. And then the way you would reload it, so to speak, is put it into water or hold it underwater for 30 minutes. So pretty cool innovation, actually. And one of the target industries is construction.
Yeah, so I think this is great because this helps you to go through the very hot day on construction site. And that's what I think people should be focused on, rather than making excuses. How can we not work today? Yeah, actually, this is a great, actually, perhaps segue towards robotics. That actually robotics might be in hot climate part of the solution to it.
That's so what you think till they start complaining about the weather.
No, they will not. They will not. So I think focus should be more towards how we can get it done by not having people doing stuff, but
prevention rather than reaction. I think is perhaps what you're trying to say.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I think the overarching thing is within construction. I know that it's always an interesting debate with health and safety, because even when I was working on sites, there was strict rules for 5-point PPE, but the carpenter wouldn't wear the gloves because it slowed him down and he couldn't quite get the perfect joint on his finished woodwork and so on and so forth. So
I see.
it's a it's a very debatable area, but at the end of the day, no one should be going to work to put themselves in danger. So
Of course,
I think
of
there is
course.
a balance.
But what I just can't find the logic. Maybe you guys help me. 59% have missed project deadlines due to heat. Okay. And they said work delays aren't just a scheduling problem, overtime costs, crew burnout, idle machines, late deliveries, etc., etc. So 59% have missed project deadlines due to heat. So
I see where you're going.
there is a schedule, okay, and it's this long, right? And if we now put breaks into it, it's going to extend. It's going to cost more. So what this thing is doing is just extending the duration of the project and
Yeah.
simultaneously the cost of the project. Okay, and this is not preventing people from getting burned or overheated. That's where the focus should be, rather than on how we can make it easier for ourselves by not doing it.
I also wonder whether this is again another example of poorly worded person-read research.
Yes.
Because maybe it was more like 59% of projects that were delayed also reported having heat issues, which is not the
Yeah.
same as causation. So, but it sounds, what you just read, Martin, I have to agree with you. It's worded as in causation. It's actually quite fascinating to think about. But in the end, if your project is delayed, there will always be a number one reason that will have contributed the most to the delay.
Yeah.
To think that would be heat, the way they phrased it, yeah. So I think that maybe isn't how we should interpret it, because that would maybe not be reality.
But Patrick, I would say the article says 59% of firms admit to having missed project deadlines specifically because of heat. So there's a strong word.
Yeah. I think it was just well paid article.
Shall we move on? Shall we? Okay, I don't want to move on from the heat topic, because I think there's something interesting here for people to unpack. But just away from the debate we were just having, because I've got a question for you. What do you think is the optimal temperature for maximum work productivity?
25.
22.
Okay, Martin. Well, it's between 20 and 25, so you were roughly,
Patrick was more correct.
you were about right.
Lucky guess.
Interestingly, in between this coming up, it being very hot in Europe, myself having aircon finally put into my house, this article from the Financial Times came out, which I found fascinating. And I also had a discussion with someone from the US who said he could not believe the lack of air conditioning within Europe. In the US is a norm. So interestingly, in
US or in the UK? Sorry.
In Europe, I think US. I've got some facts here. It says US. I haven't got the US numbers, but yeah, 90%.
By the way, that's a fairly uninformed viewpoint. So if you look at southern France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, that picture will be much, much, much denser in terms of HVAC. AC,
correct,
compared to northern and the northern part of Central Europe.
That is 100% correct. Yes. Well, across the entirety of Europe, 19% of European households have air conditioning. That was in 2022, compared to approximately 90% in the US and approximately 70% in China. In the UK, only approx 5% of homes had air conditioning in 2020. So what that means is when temperature goes up to around about 30 degrees, worker productivity reduces down to about 90%. So there's a very sharp drop that as the temperature starts to increase, the curve like steepens and productivity drops almost exponentially as as things get hotter. So get AC.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a very fascinating subject, the overheating from like buildability point of view and Rex point of view. Like Europe is much better in terms of that, but in the UK, right now you've got new build projects constructed in a way that by default, the way they are constructed, designed due to minimum requirements of building regs, they will be overheated.
The
And
new builds in the UK.
yes, they will be overheated. Like once they are built, they will be
Oh my
overheated.
goodness. Oh yeah, my sister lives in a new build and she sent me her dial when she got back from holiday. It was like 33 degrees in the house or something.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
unbearable.
It is
Yeah, new
unbearable.
build.
I never can understand why these regs are written this way. Europe is way better from this point of view.
I mean, insulation works both ways, right? So can keep cold outside, can keep heat inside.
Yeah, and there has been, I don't know if this correlates to the weather, but certainly in the UK news, more discussion around whether the buildings are fit for purpose in the new heat that we're experiencing, or the increased heat within the climate. So
yeah, I actually think like we touched
an area
on
to watch.
I mean,
last
one
time,
of the sorry, I mean, since you're there, but I think one of the actually smartest not even inventions, just design choices that an architect could make, but it does cost a bit of money. It's actually putting a rooftop garden. It's unbelievable how cost efficient from a cooling down
like
perspective.
a green roof, you mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can put there just some moss or some grass, or you can do an entire garden there, right? Then you also have nice area to sit. It's unbelievable
Yes.
how much it actually. Now the problem is it comes with structural investment, right? Because that is heavy. People underestimate just how damn heavy that is. So for my home here, I actually had it estimated, had given me an estimate. That would have been basically 4 times the load that today my flat roof has to carry.
Wow.
Because there's soil being put on top. So that's and I should clarify, that was not by the roofing company who just wanted to bump up the price. So that was literally just by a, hey, I make your roof green kind of a company. But it's amazing what it actually does in terms of the cooling down. Another thing that they...
Go on.
No, go on, Martin.
You should have gone shopping for another structural engineer to optimize it somehow.
The best is I didn't even have one on this one. I just said no. So maybe I'll come to you. Yeah. No, and the other thing that for example, I mean, you know Germans, right? And so Germans like to over-engineer a lot of stuff. There's all kinds of funny stories over history about that. And so also in terms of the building code, Germans have definitely gone overboard on stuff. You know, Germany gave us 3-pane windows, which I absolutely love. I think you will be hard-pressed to find 3 economies in the world that have a greater building standard than the Germans in terms of the quality, not in terms of the efficiency. But efficiency is actually, in terms of cost, time, etc., is not yet optimized. And one of these things that the German building standard, not even standard, but just like, which is becoming slowly a norm, is the heat exchangers in the walls. It's amazing, actually. So, I mean, my house is 5 years old, and I never have to open a window, not when it's cold, not when it's warm. And, you know, I let warm air stream outside and heat up the in-streaming air. I let cooler air stream outside and cool it down the outside air. It's amazing. It really cools your house so much down, and it makes it so efficient. Whereas if I were to open the windows, yeah, you know, out goes the energy.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, Europe is way better from this point of view than UK. I'm curious, from investment point of view, do you see any companies working towards like this theme of homes overheating or climate change kind of connected to like poor insulation or poor buildup of the walls? I know that you've invested in Varm, and there was another one that I actually forgot the name.
EcoWorks is working on something similar. In the US, you have Koala insulation. So from an insulation perspective, there are a few. From an urban heat island perspective, there are also a small number. So one founder of Asuma Homes has just founded in that space in Finland. There's a Parisian company that actually is doing wonderful work with rooftop gardens and rooftop greenery in that regard. In the US, maybe less of a topic, but we will also see them there.
So mainly it's like adding insulation or adding insulation layer to the building, or there's other like more technology related, more digital technology related.
Yeah,
things.
you will also see new types of heating forms or heat exchangers, more integrated HVAC systems. But there's only so much that you can do. You either insulate better, or you find some thermomechanical way how to transform energy from basically one place into the other. But how it works, there's only so much that you can do, and it's always in the end coming down to the same principles. The best thing would do is actually avoiding the need to inject energy. And so I actually think that insulation with proper ventilation is one of the best things you can do. I mean, I'm quite fascinated actually by the old adobe building structure by the Native Americans in like southern US and northern Middle America, building with clay, right? Or rammed earth. To me, it's just not the consumer demand or the consumer taste personally. But from an efficiency perspective, man, the way these old building designs work, it's actually, it's fascinating reads.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole there. Something to read. Patrick, should we go on to your funding analysis for the
let's do it
for the
Yeah, we
quarter?
do 30
slow
minutes
quarter.
on heat.
No heat in
different
that
one.
quarter, man. No,
Oh no, maybe
Also,
the
there's no heat
conversation is
here.
about to cool down.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, recession in the founding world.
No, just slower. It's.
Do you have
guys want
something
me
to
share
share?
the screen?
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing. Or you
Yeah, if you can share it.
sure.
Else, I also have it here.
Oh no. There we go. Can you see it?
There you go. Yeah. So look, we're every quarter we're reviewing what went on in terms of technology funding, early stage, late stage, in architecture, engineering, construction, technology. Overall, we're standing, if we exclude Katera, View, and Helio, which I always like to do, around the 37 billion mark, not too far off from where we were in Q1. That's why I call it a small quarter. There was about 500 million added. You can do all kinds of shenanigans, making these numbers inflated, which I refuse to do. I can include other parts of the economy into Construtech and call it Construtech. I think our definition is very narrow. And as you can see, I even don't include Katera, View, or Helio. That's another 6 to 7 billion that I don't mention here, just because it's old and it was very lumped. What's interesting, we'll see it later in one of the charts, actually the seed and the late stage funding rounds are doing quite well compared to historically. It's the Series A's and B rounds that in Q2 we didn't see a lot of and large rounds of compared to historics. That led to only a 0.4% VC market share, which is about 2 times higher than Contech had been a couple of years ago. But it is a drop compared to where we were the last 3 quarters, about 50% drop actually. In terms of Contech density and Contech market share, Asia Pacific continues to be the most important Construtech hub in terms of that market share, followed by Europe. In the US, actually, Construtech has a relatively low share of VC. And overall, however, what's interesting is this 500 million funding raise was not very deeply concentrated in 1 or 2 companies. There was actually a number of deals that contributed to this. The top 4 deals only made up 30%, so about 130 of the 500 million. And the top 10 deals were about 56%, so about 260 million of the 500, which is a good concentration ratio. It's an important measure I look at because it shows me, hey, is this a maturing or mature sector, or is it a sector that is actually relying on 1, 2, 3 marquee type of deals? We're way past that problem. So construction tech is mature, and for the last 16 quarters or so, the concentration ratios have been giving us the signal of a mature tech sector.
Seed and late stage strong. So seed, how to interpret that means that seed, that there's lots of new startups coming out, and there is people want to invest, I guess, in seed. What about the late stage? Because
Yeah, I
what
think.
does it mean
Sorry,
that?
Martin. Just to add to your point as well. What's interesting is there's companies being funded at seed, but are they not? Does this signify that companies are not able to achieve the metrics to get to Series A? Are we starting to see that?
That's a very good question. If you could hop to page 13, there we have the charts for this actually. And I'll try to give you my interpretation, because in the end, I don't have an absolute answer to this. So on the left-hand side, you see early stage. Early stage is seed and Series A, B. And then on the right-hand side, you have growth stage. Let's start with the right-hand side, Martin, Owen, before we come to yours. So interestingly, the growth stage of construction tech continues to grow higher and higher and higher. That's the purple chart at the purple bars on the right-hand side here. Whereas for overall venture, it's actually becoming slower and slower and slower. Over time, right? So that's sort of a very interesting observation, that the sector is maturing. You will always have in a let's say sector that isn't doing 10 billion a quarter, you will always have a little bit of spikes, but you see the trend, right? So let's come to, and I think that is an amazing signal. Let's come to the left-hand side, the early stage. So you see here the purple and the pink. So purple is the Construtech or AEC Tech seed stage, and pink is the Construtech Series A, B. So you see how the Series A, Bs actually recently were trending closer to where we were 10 years ago, while seed holds strong at 250 to 300% of 10 years ago, right? Why is that? So seed rounds are cheaper, more capital is available. We tend to say in fundamental, and it's not, I think other people will say the same thing, is seed is the most liquid stage of venture. And you will always find someone that will give you some money if you have the right pitch and the right team. And that's why you see stability there, right? So you see that Construtech is a category that can draw founders as well as capital at seed. Now, then why is the funding gap widening towards Series A's and B's? My personal, a little bit cheeky response, and I know you guys want me to be cheeky because apparently it draws in one additional viewer. So let's give you that viewership.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, if you build shit companies and you raise your seed round on a shit promise and you can't deliver on that shit promise, well, at Series A and B, it's easier to be made, right? And so there are A's and B's that still get raised on narrative, etc., all the time. But overall, if you look at the big statistics, you actually become legible by that point. That's the term we use internally, right? So someone, the words become less blurry and they become sharp, and all of a sudden you can read what's in the book. So you become more legible to the overall investment community. And then that, to me, is the only explanation, is that when companies become legible at that stage, they don't look attractive. And then the reverse engineering to me is that probably means they shouldn't have received seed funding.
I'm very curious.
I don't know, what do you guys think?
I'm very curious if the other industries have similar tendency of this graph, this chart, or it's more kind of continuously going up rather than serious. There is a peak in the growth, like you said, it's cheap to invest.
Yeah, you can see it here, Martin. So that's the two red bars, right? So I'm comparing it. I'm comparing it with all ventures. So the light red is actually all venture seed, and the dark red is all venture Series A and B. So there is a natural. No, actually, it's not natural. There is a gap between the two, which means that seed overall is higher compared to 10 years ago, but Series A and B is a little bit less higher compared to 10 years ago. So there is a similar disconnect. However, you can see how the scissor has been going up last quarter between Construtech Series A and B and all venture Series A and B. So that's an interesting observation that you're pointing out.
That's interesting. Does it mean that it's difficult to build a good company within construction technology? I bet that's for sure. Are there any market conditions that would justify this scissor pattern in the last year, really? Did you say?
So look, the ones that don't get Series A, B right now are 3 years old or younger. Oftentimes they will only be 2 years old. Sorry, not old. Will be 3 years away from their previous seed round, or most oftentimes 2 years away from their previous seed round. So that means that the ones not getting the A and B right now received their seed round in 2022 or 2023. So the question is, what happened in 2022 and 2023 in terms of seed funding that makes it undeserving now? Venture has always trends. And so in Construtech specifically, what was a lot backed in 2022 and 2023 has been material innovations, climate innovations, carbon reduction, resource efficient materials. That will be one fad that we saw in 22 and 23 a lot. AI was beginning to emerge, but I don't think that explains this year. AI funding in Construtech, more like second half of 23 is when it began. So I don't think that contributed here as much. Energetic renovation got a lot of funding in 22 and 2023. Maybe that contributed here. Other than that, no big lump trend that I can remember from those years. No.
What's the average time between seed and Series A or B in construction tech versus other ventures? If you know.
I wouldn't. Carta actually publishes very good numbers on these. I'm a little bit too. I can't access it right now. No, I don't have it in here. On.
No.
But anecdotally, Martin, you can say that about 80% of the companies that graduate from seed to Series A will be in and around 18 to 24 months. And then the other 20% will either be 12 months or quicker, or some of them might be 30 to 36 months. It will be exceptionally rare that it's more than 3 years between those, because typically you're not funded with a runway that way. And it will also be exceptionally rare to have like 6 months or less, although, you're always seeing it. It always happens, but in the grand scheme of things, that's like an exception.
I thought that to justify that, I thought that it might be that in construction, this cycle to grow business is longer than in other industries, but seems like that's not the case.
Not between seed and Series A, I don't think. No.
Okay.
I think that is a factor that can affect you later down the line, potentially. But no, not between seed and A, because A rounds today anyway are what seed rounds were 10 years ago. It still has a heavy weighting on narrative, on team, on what the organization is that you build, people you hired, etc. A rounds get raised on a couple €100,000 of revenue, and sometimes even without any. So no, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we have Sean waiting, so we shall let him in. I think we maybe cut that short slightly, but all good. Let's go. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Sean.
Yeah, good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you, Sean. Hey, whereabouts are you?
I'm in New York right now, but we're based in Phoenix.
Good. We discussed heat topic earlier, so I guess
Nice.
New York is a little better than Phoenix right now.
No, it's the same.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh,
the
wow.
same.
East Coast is burning.
It's the humidity. It's crazy. It feels just as hot as Arizona.
Wow.
It's all good
Yeah,
though.
you join us on a good day. Cool, Sean. All right, so things seem to be hotting up over at Super Seed. So I understand you guys. Well, you recently just announced the news of $10 million seed round. So what sparked the timing? Why now? What happened?
It's customer demand, so we've got to keep up. We have a facility in Phoenix, and our goal was to build our second plant once that hit about 50% capacity. But right now we're about double over capacity. So we just need to raise some capital to build our second plant, which will be about twice the size to start, and then we'll move that up to about 3 times the size by the end of next year.
So
Awesome.
tell us what Super Seed does.
We make a replacement to plywood that is a structural sheathing made from recycled plastics.
Why would someone do a replacement of plywood? What's the issue with plywood?
Easy issue is water, right? You know, we're servicing right now the boat industry where that value proposition rings pretty true. We're also servicing the RV industry, where you've got water penetration, now you've got mold inside of your living quarters, right? So ours is mold proof, ours is waterproof, ours has better fastener retention, it just lasts longer. At the end of the day, we're able to extend our performance envelope out several decades, where your performance envelope for wood is going to be extrapolated for about 10 years, right? You know, what really the impetus was is you buy a pallet of wood and the first sheet is warped and rotted when you leave it outside on your job site. And so is the bottom sheet, which is, you know, covered in mud and mold, and it's useless. You build a house in any environment that gets any form of moisture, any form of extreme heat, and you'll see the whole thing is wavy, right? So maybe that works out for you if you're putting a super heavy slate tile on your roof, but if you're using asphalt shingles, you're going to have a wavy roof for the rest of your life. The real hidden thing that we want more people to know is when wood gets wet, how drastically its performance reduces, right? So we had to develop our own ICC AC criterion in order to get approved for you know, wall, roof, and floor sheathing. And in going through that process, you know, we were held to a very, very, very high and strict standard. And so where one of the things that was rather frustrating is the water standard. And so we did our own test. And when you take a piece of plywood and you soak it, whether it's for 4 hours or for 4 days or whatever, you do it for an hour, we'll have all these same results. When you soak it, and then you let it dry completely, bone dry, right? So imagine a heavy rainfall, the next morning it dries, you give it a couple of days, it dries out. We have found at over 50 times we've done this study, wood will lose between 20 and 35% of its performance permanently. So they're going through these ratings, they're going through these tests, and you have a house that's obviously seeing the elements while it's getting built, and you know it's 30% weaker than what it was spec'd for. So I think there's a safety aspect, there is a quality of build aspect, there is a frustration aspect, there's a cleanliness of the site aspect, and you know, and why we also started was there's an environmental aspect, right? We're taking a lot of recycled plastics and we're giving it a forever home, and hopefully building people a forever home along the way.
Is it like cheaper to produce to buy your plywood than kind of currently made of wood?
No, ours would be a little more expensive. So right now we're servicing OEMs. We're coming in about 5-10% over the incumbent wood right now, is where we sit. And you know, we'll replicate that probably fairly similarly. You know, there are some heavier priced performance-based sheathings out there, like the Zip system, things like that. That'll be pretty comparable to where we're into the market when we're in retail.
Sean, we were discussing before the show. Hey, I'm curious what supersedes performance against standards, norms, etc. I think you preempted that. You were saying that actually you have the required certification so that customers can actually, without any kind of worry, hey, get my supersede plywood substitute, everything is norm certified to the standards.
Yeah, structurally, it's going to be, it has to be rated, right? That's the main difference. You know, we're not the first person to make something out of recycled materials and bring it into the the construction field, right? But we are the first to make something that is truly structural. And so with that, we've got to pass a lot of really heavy duty tests, and we do that. You know, we outperform wood in just about every strength test that's out there. Most importantly being fastener retention. So, you know, in wind rated environments, which is why we're there with that metric, but we're testing it right now. We're not testing it, you know, we're testing. The way that we enter the market was through OEMs in the boating in the RV space. So we're doing pontoon boat floors, right? And you can't have a better environment than something that's constantly wet. You've got people that are sitting on it because the structure of a pontoon boat is the floor. you're jumping up and down on it with waves, and those screws are the thing that's holding the whole thing together. So fastener retention is about 1.5x that of wood, and then we're going to be stronger, stiffer, in a couple of different, basically
Man.
every other aspect, and compression. Yep.
Somehow you give me the image right now of the Flex Seal guy doing his commercial ads.
Yeah.
You remember that one where
Am
he
I giving off
basically
Flex Seal vibes? Is that?
Yeah,
That's it. All
sewed
right,
the
I'll
boat
take
in
it.
half and then Flex Sealed it.
Yeah, perfect.
Hilarious,
Hey.
by the way.
Sean, so do you have a use case in construction yet? Because I asked this question because I just did a very quick scan of your website, said that construction was coming soon.
Yeah.
So
He said
what
floor
would be the
and
use
walls,
case
right?
there?
Well, floor, roof, and walls are where we're targeted. But as far as like what we're actually doing right now is factory built homes. And right now, the use case currently is on the floor structure, subflooring, particularly where OSB is used, or where moisture is a challenge. And so the next high compressive material that's available is very expensive. So we're actually coming in at a better cost price than what's currently available today. And we are built for factory built homes, as well, and factory built construction, simply because we extrude, right? So we're extruding, which means we can do custom lengths without increasing the price. So if you want a continuous wall, if you want something that is a very odd length, our whole system's robotic, right? So we're able to cut that to a length, and we're not adding significant premiums, right? Like 10-foot long boards, continuous 20-foot long boards are incredibly expensive if you can get them. They're typically storm rated boards for 2-story residential dwellings. And so that doesn't cost us any more. It's just same per square foot price, basically. So we're built really well for that. And so also it's just like the current market we're servicing. A lot of this is around the predictability of revenue in these early days. So we're servicing OEMs in boating. Then we started servicing OEMs in RVs, and mobile homes, factory built construction, trailers are all sort of the same boat, so to speak. And then we'll get into more standardized construction.
Is your plywood easy to work with, like wood, or is it more difficult or easier?
Nope, same tools, same processes. If you specify with us, we have a non-chemical treatment we use that we can actually make it be adhesion ready. So if you want to glue to it, could recommend some glues, but most standard glues are going to work. The only difference in certain scenarios would be things like if you're using air staples, we recommend the right air pressure. And if you're really trying to get a flush screw, we've got some specific fasteners that'll help self-bevel, right? Because this is a very dense material. So a screw is going to stick out of it unless you pre-drill it, or we have wafer head screws that are going to bevel itself in to get a flush finish. So everything is really similar. When you get to the application layer, your glues and your fasteners will recommend some stuff, but it's all going to fall in the same cost bracket. We're not going to increase costs on that.
I'm very curious, like, do you see the cost per unit to be cheaper at some point than like commonly used plywood in construction?
We'll make it
perhaps in
so
the future?
we have, in the future. Well, when you look at stuff that is going to be held to a lesser requirement, right? So our stuff is overspec'd, right? It's just in a lot of scenarios, it's overkill. So we have, the beauty of being a vertically integrated company is that we can change anything in the manufacturing process, from the input materials to the processing speed to the formulations, and then to the composition of the formulations through their processing speed. So what we're doing is we're doing things like lightweighting. We're offering things that are lighter. We have a version on our website called Yusta that's about 30% less expensive than our standard offering and about 30% lighter. And so that would be something that will be basically cost competitive at that level of your commoditized plywood and OSB. And so that's an example of where we're starting, right? We're also in the process with some on the commercial side, developing some more customized solutions. And what we're trying to do is identify a market area where we can custom build a solution today because we're equipped for it for one customer, and then eventually scale a plant around that product SKU. So what that looks like for us right now is we have the ability to extrude two different types of polymers, right? So we can extrude a cap layer that has, FR requirements or UV requirements or color requirements or aesthetic requirements, or, in this scenario, what we're doing is effectively we're doing a wood grain. And so we're able to extrude that, and then in the inside have a more structural or maybe a less structural material if we're trying to lightweight or make it flexible. So we're very much in the experimental stage with where the scale of a company goes. Right now, we're just doing the Henry Ford thing, and you can have any product you want as long as it's black. And so we're building that to scale. We're servicing that at the OEMs, and we're then working with unique partners on, basically they'll have first mover advantage on some unique adaptations. We'll develop them a custom product, and then eventually those will go into the production process under their own plant lines. And so there's some cool stuff, because when you talk about now doing composite layers, you're saving materials, right? We're saving moisture barriers in some scenarios when you're talking about an underlayment. We're saving some processes when you're talking about adding, Tyvek and things that you don't need to in a roofing side. We're talking about now aesthetically when you're talking about cladding, right? You don't need an underlayment for this cladding. This is waterproof. This is structural. So there's significant savings there. So a whole lot of stuff that is made possible by the process that we're bringing to the market.
Sean, I love it from an investment perspective. I love it when a company actually builds capacity, not an efficiency play like, hey, here's software, here's tooling that will let you do something 20% better. I love it when startups and founders build capacity. And I love it when they do it on a unit of supply that is already standardized in the construction market. So oftentimes you will then meet these vast pools. You don't have to shape the demand. You don't have to educate people. You're basically saying, hey, you guys, you're unhappy with the existing supply. I'm building capacity with a new type of supply. Does the same thing, just better, cheaper, faster, more scalable, whatever. So I totally love that. And I saw in your, I think in the press release, you said, hey, we're going after microfactories right now. So I was wondering, this could become very, very big for you. What's your capitalization strategy? How you want to build all of that capacity that probably you're wanting to build?
Honestly, that completely comes down to what kind of risk we can tolerate on our balance sheet. That's right, and that's balanced by what we can do to carve out new market opportunities via our ability to innovate, right? And then on the other side, what we're doing to finance it. The factories themselves are incredibly capex efficient, and by building, the idea of the micro factories is that they're more efficient from an environmental footprint. But I think the main thing is that, what we're really bullish on is that the efficiency of an environmental footprint need to be the exact same efficiencies that you're picking up in your manufacturing process, right? So we're only trucking in from 500 miles, one, to reduce carbon footprint, but two, that's the unit economics that makes sense for recycled products, right? So we want to build these factories in environments where we're going to clean up the area, we're going to employ local folks, but also there needs to be a local resource of recycled plastics available, as well as folks that are within the region that we can sell to, right? So we'll be building these out. At the same time, though, because they're so capex efficient, depending on market volatility, right, we can turn on and off these assets fairly straightforwardly, right? And they can be moved around because they're fairly lean. But yeah, we're reducing transportation costs. We're able to do what we set out to do in our mission and stay really carbon negative. But the truth of the matter is, just as what we push forward, right? It's the green nature is a selfish interest of me and my co-founders, right? Customers sometimes care, but it's a nice to have. It's certainly not a decision maker, right? There's not a green premium that exists, particularly in this market. There are some select folks who really want that, who will be able to pay the extra, whatever it may be. But our goal is to not make it be an extra. fee, right? Our goal is to make this ubiquitous. And so what we're doing is focusing on scale to make a robust and sound business model. And then so that tells us how quickly we can scale, right? And so it's risk on the balance sheet, our ability to say, we can bootstrap these kind of in sequence, or the quicker we can scale is just based on our risk tolerance at the end of the day, because the factories are they're fairly they're impressively capex efficient, space efficient, and then of course carbon efficient, right? So like we'll build a plant, so 4 of our plants will cost 1/10 of what a lumber plant of the equivalent size would be for that output, and it would be on 1/100th of the space, right? So there's a lot of efficiencies that are in that allow us to be nimble.
And sorry, I'll tell you in a minute why I'm asking that. What's the brand play for Superseed? Is there one, or is this more like, Tyvek? You mentioned them. I mean, that's an incredible brand story in the US, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And we'd love to be that, right? I mean, that's what we want to do. So we want to be the brand that is it makes sense, right? So our whole slogan is making the ordinary obsolete. And what we want to do is take all the ordinary materials and reshape the way that people are looking at them and say, is there a better way to do this, right? And it's not, and it's a win-win, meaning that what we're able to do is apply recycled materials, which typically have a bad name, and then get them out of the environment and put them in a place where that bad thing, the whole reason plastics have a bad name and the reason that they're polluting is because they don't go away. Isn't that what you want your house to do? You don't want it to go away. So we're just trying to flip that narrative, and we're trying to make houses last longer, and we're trying to clean up the environment.
Sean,
so
one
I
last
guess
one.
if you, hey Owen, allow me that quick
Go,
one.
go.
So
I need
the
to ask
reason
one
I
as well.
So the reason why I asked
Go
about the
for
brand
it.
play after I asked about the capacity play, my partner and I here were totally fascinated by how Coca-Cola actually developed. And so if you're for everyone who's not familiar, I mean, Coca-Cola, we always think of it as a consumer brand, but actually it is a B2B company that is asset light. It's totally fascinating. So Coca-Cola, in the end, they go to bottlers, and the bottlers have the plant on their balance sheet, and it's an automated plant. In the end, the capex is controllable, and Coca-Cola will actually give them a contract. Hey, you can be my bottler, but you have to do the whole thing, man. You have to do the logistics. You might have to have the contract with the local hotel guys, etc. But I'll send you the ingredients. I'll send you maybe the machinery. But most of all, I give you predictable demand. So you give me your capacity, you do it for me, you manage all that. And in the end, I give you that. So it's amazing toll booth business. And so that's why I was asking if that's your ambition, going both capacity and brand play. But it sounds a little bit right now, if I understand you correctly, your thinking is more, let's keep them on the balance sheet for now.
Only because, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, maybe the business model is not that cool because you just figured it out. But we manufacture our equipment as well, right? So there's a lot of proprietary stuff in there that we're designing, and as we can make that more ubiquitous, and those opportunities become very realistic, right? Just what you said.
Hey Sean, one from Siddhant who's watching this, and he asks, are there any issues seen where the contractor is okay with using a substitute, but the specifications don't call for it, or the architect doesn't approve the substitution request? So I think that this relates to construction, maybe slightly further along the line than where you are currently at. Do you want me to unpack it, or do you understand what's being asked?
No, I get it. We're not there yet, so I can't give you any good real-time examples, right? We're typically getting brought in by architects because there's a vision there, or at least there's a broader appetite for things outside of the BOM cost, I guess I'll say, right? There's an appetite for lead certs, there's appetite for experimenting with new materials and sort of pushing the boundaries, right? Again, you could put different laminates on this as a substructure if we're talking about exterior facing pieces, which can save cost, but also, give you new unique opportunities. And then also things like seamless walls. So typically architects are bringing it in as they're evaluating it, but we're just at that evaluation stage. We're not at the kind of combating phase on the other side where it wasn't called into the spec. So.
Okay, Martin, last question because we
quick one. So what's most difficult or surprising within material engineering?
The most surprising are, I
Not
think,
obvious, maybe.
what's so as a so I think it's less so about the science itself. It's more so about the environment, right, that it's in. And so we're the new folks in town when it comes to plastic recycling, and we'll be the first to admit that. And that's why we brought experts around us, both on the working side, on the payroll side, and on the cap table side. But what's been bizarre though is the odd specification that leads to the siloing, right? So we need to make a product that meets a spec, and we'll use any plastic that we can in order to get there, as long as we're able to deliver quality. We're held to a stringent quality because of the ICC certs and because of the things that we have to be constantly tested on and validated for. But at the end of the day, our end user or our customer, who may be the same, maybe two different folks, don't care if it's made out of polypropylene or if it's made out of HDPE, right? They just want to know that it works, and they want to know that it lasts. And there's this, and so what's been really fascinating about the industry that we're entering is the siloing, and how there are specific grants made available only for PET, or there's a specific initiative for polypropylene. And right now there needs to be a little bit, in my opinion, more of a little bit more of a consortium of folks who just say, this stuff is worthwhile, meaning plastic, let's go put it someplace, and let's figure out better ways to absorb it, adapt to it. And I think that's where, what we're looking at when we're like, if the entire country switches over its structural sheathing requirements tomorrow, and we had the capacity, in theory, we'd only eat 10% of the excess plastic waste that's made in the United States every year, right? So we need to look further beyond other means, other plastics, and really just continue to find ways to put them in places where their value proposition from their inherent property can resonate, right? Being waterproof, being dense, having good fastener retention, and then also in a place where they need to last a long time. And I think that's been the most surprising to me, is how initiatives have gone into maybe things I'll learn further, but I think that's been what's most interesting, because at the end of the day, it's surprisingly simple math to make various types of plastic work with each other.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
All right, Sean. Well, thank you so much. And best of luck with Superseed. Looking forward to receiving my next, what do you call the material? Not plywood?
So the Superseed Marine Board is our core product.
There we go.
And so I'll get that over to you
Marine Board
whenever you want it.
House. Sometime soon.
Flight
Yeah.
tech.
Cool.
You check us out at superseed.build.
Awesome.
Cool.
Great having you,
Thanks,
man.
guys. Great to meet you.
Take care.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for coming. Thanks, Sean.
Bye.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Very interesting. Hey.
By the way, we didn't even mention that, but Sean was Sean was actually previously, his previous company was Strong Arm Tech. I mean, with that one, actually also fairly successful contact company, raised a ton of money. I don't know how the company is doing, but they've been around for 12, 13 years. So actually interesting that he went from software to hardware.
Wow. Maybe that's
Doing
a
real
shift.
stuff.
He knows something.
Hello, Mo.
Hello, Mo. How are you
Good
doing?
seeing you
You're
all.
looking very well.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Mo,
I
gave
need
you
to
a
switch
brief.
on my AI. My AI needs to tell me whether there's a new sneaker pair in the background now compared to last time.
The new sneakers are not behind me.
Okay,
The war
they're in front of you.
continues and grows. Yeah,
What's the frequency of your purchases of new sneakers?
it's getting less and less. So I'm trying not to buy just very, very special ones nowadays.
He spent all his money.
Yeah. Also,
Can't-
less
you can't- you
time
can't justify it to the
thinking
wife
about
anymore.
sneakers. But we can do a special series about sneakers. I mean, we can one day show it. The LeBron James construction shoe. So he had one which was like construction themed with a construction logo. Very underrated. I got one pair of those. So that's a
Do
great
you do
basketball
only
shoe.
Airs or also Adidas or anything?
There are some Adidas there, some Reebok, but they're more on that side, but not that many. There's some my own designs and some commercial designs. So I mean, we can make this also to a special series. I mean, I'm always surprised how many construction people, construction tech people are into sneakers. Yeah, each time getting on a call, I spent like 5 minutes just talking about sneakers. And people tell me about their sneaker collection, about their grades, which sneakers they love, and how many people have actually a sneaker collection at home. I'm surprised. So I'm really surprised how big this community is in our community.
You just attracted someone else from the community who on YouTube is asking us what your favorite pair in the collection is. Thanks, Sidan.
It always changes. I would say, okay, the reborn construction is very good. I can, one of the next podcasts, I will bring it on to show it. I always forget. I mean, the ones which I made for my son, so they're self-designed and they have his birthday and so on it. So these are also like very special. So each shoe has a story, and that's a lot how I learned about marketing and storytelling is about the sneakers and how they come out and how they can tell a story about a shoe and how they're colored and how each piece can have little items on it or little snitches which tell a story from the past or about a person, about something else which they're made for.
Very good.
What
Okay,
lessons can you
Mo,
take from
tell
the
us
sneakers design to the UX design and construction?
Yeah, okay, good segue.
Yeah, especially, I mean, talking about storytelling and design, maybe in the community people know. I was thinking about, okay, which tools are the best construction tech products, software products out there? I think we don't have an award for that and so on. That's like not efficient or not the best business model, but which have like a love for detail, usability, being user friendly, where people log in, they really love using it.
I didn't reply, but can I give you my response?
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Damn.
Glad you didn't say Slack.
No, WhatsApp. Yeah,
Very
that
good.
was also my previous discussion on LinkedIn. What should you use as messaging tool?
WhatsApp
in your team? Yeah, and I think WhatsApp and in the US, text messages and text groups are the winning interface. But they're not probably, they're very often used, but not contact pure. But I think, yeah.
So Mo, are you suggesting? I actually can't name a product because when I think of construction tech products or software, I just think of lots of buttons and it's very actually quite confusing. But I remember one of our maybe first 10 episodes of Bricks and Bytes. So they were going back 3.5, 3-ish years ago. Was from with a product designer, and his gripe was that all the UX and design of construction technology products sucks, and that he was thinking that you actually have a well designed product, it can actually, I mean, it's an obvious relationship, but you will endure more success with what you were building. So curious as to why you bring this up anyway. UX.
I can say on my side, like only from engineering point of view, I know that my engineers really like Teclatets compared to Autodesk products. It's much simpler, much more intuitive, much more product orientated rather than like element orientated. So it kind of adjusts to a particular product that are out there on the market rather than gives you scientific explanation of why things are designed in a certain way. I've not used any like a startups dealing with structural design yet, so I don't know what's out there actually. But yeah.
I mean, the one I really love is IPX, which is like between it's like reality capture, scan to BIM. I think from the early days where it was just a Dropbox upload. When they really started minimalistic, where you would upload your point clouds, and then they would give you the model back to the interface they have today. So I think that's like one of the best user interfaces out there. How clean it is, how you can navigate through it. I think they put a lot of thinking into it.
Did you have to be an expert to use it, or could you?
No.
Yeah, so that's a
I think
great
that
thing
the clue
about it.
is how can you make a product that somebody is not the greatest expert
Yes.
and still get even an expert tool to use. Yeah, that it gets
Yes.
navigated. I think that's not much resources goes into it. I think that
Yes.
goes about usage on a field. I mean,
Same
at
from
Hulu,
engineering point of
we
view.
had to say some of the parts was very good, some maybe less. But now getting people to use your product, I think UI, UX, engagement makes a lot of sense. I think Plan Grid was also very well designed in the early days. I mean, what it did, it was a very well designed product, and people enjoyed using it. I think when the founders came in and they talked about it as it was like consumer grade application. So everybody could just open it and use it on an iPad.
So your argument is that this does not exist within construction technology, or
no, I'm looking
is
for it. I mean, I'm just trying to find the best product designers. So maybe I need to hire one. No,
that's a good way to go about it.
So I think the other mole in that WhatsApp group is actually too modest to raise his hand when you ask that question, but I'll do it now on his behalf. So I think actually Enscape knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah.
In terms of UX. Now it's not field force. So I took your question in that group as in, hey, like maybe more labor oriented, etc. And that is indeed very tricky. So Enscape is still desk worker, but it has always received rave reviews, I think, from its users.
Yeah, I think Enscape did also. I mean, the whole concept was great. I think the whole concept was better usability for a hard problem. How you demonstrate and make it easy for people to see the visuals. The whole process was a pain. So the whole product is UX UI. What Moritz did is like was a big thing. That was like a big game changer in that space. So if somebody knows great products or people know products, they should write it in a chat or message us or write it under this video. What are the best products? And maybe
shall we charge him for this,
Bytes Best Products Award one day.
I'm going to send you a check on WhatsApp.
I think it's tricky because, for example, who is the target audience of the product? As we say, like in design technology, I would say it's the architect, engineer, so someone who should be within this space, and they should have some vocabulary associated with like their day-to-day, and they should know what they're doing. So it's difficult for someone else, I think, to assess how good the product is, because the assumption is that the person using it, they already know the basics. So then the easy layer of the UX is just making it simple for them to use it, right? But I think it's just very difficult task to assess, like what's the great.
I mean, there are metrics how you can assess it. There's like NPS scores is like one very simple one, but there are metrics. I mean, I studied computer science and user interaction, so you can measure it by if you have two products, you can measure it. So that's like very science behind it. There's science how you can measure good interaction, good usability, good user experience. That's like not magic or feeling. I mean, because we have a feeling, everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
But actually, there's also science behind it.
Yeah. What do you think is the most irrelevant metric, or like the most telling metric?
Call to
I
action
think most
buttons.
products is how much people spend time on it and they're happy. I mean, that's like the NPS score, how much they would really refer it to somebody else. And now you get the
Journalist
viral
test.
product. I think that's like the best, easiest to measure. But then you can go nitty gritty and measure in the product, how much clicks people do, how often they go somewhere wrong.
Mo, here's
and there are
something
different
interesting for
attention.
you.
I mean, if you're analyzing your product, you can find out so often. So we had like, I don't know, once a button. Now we would track and see, oh, people would always go somewhere else, click something, and then nearly 90% would then go to do another button. So, oh, maybe they think that's the right place to go, but that was the wrong place to find it. And they all would go down to the next place. So we said, oh, we have to route it or they change it so people have an easier life. So I'm changing, and there's like a lot of products where it's like this smoothness is not working.
Patrick, you had something, then I want to throw something in here.
So number one, controversial opinion.
Based
I
on-
love that.
I
love
think I
that
was cut
you're-
out for a sec. Sorry.
Yeah,
You go on.
I love, Mo, that you're actually bringing it back to quantification. And in the end, I agree with Martin's point actually on this one and with yours that it has to be in the eye of the user, not in the eye of an amateur observer, and that will show in the numbers. So with that comment in mind, I have three nominations. So, and I'll pull them into two buckets. First one is Bluebeam. And now people have all sorts of opinions of Bluebeam, but I bet if you get hold of the Bluebeam telemetry, you will see absolutely insane telemetry. And two of the craziest telemetries in terms of MAU, DAU, usage cohorts, session length, expanding session length, number of actions, action escalation, etc. in the telemetry is actually Speckle and Rayon. Absolutely insane cohorts and telemetry.
Rayon, actually,
Now,
yeah.
Speckle is at 6-digit number of users, so there I would say we're seeing it at scale. Rayon is slowly getting there, but still at a slightly earlier scale of the adoption, so you have to factor that in, I guess. But curious to hear your guys' reactions based on hearing me say that, because on Speckle and Rayon I'm very biased, but I do have the telemetry.
I've got a comment on the user time spent on the software. So to me, if software is good and it's a great product, I want to spend the least time working on it because it should deliver the outcome for me, rather than measure it. The more I spend time working on it, the better the product is. To me, it's not something I feel I can sit well with.
I don't know. I mean,
I think you missed the point, actually. But it's an
Maybe.
interesting point, though. It's still
Because
it's still an interesting thing.
for example, in structural design, you are using software to get it done the quicker you can to get to the right outcome. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on the software, because the more time I spend, that means that it is taking my time to do something else, right? So I want the shortest time to the outcome possible. So this metrics, to me, it wouldn't be showing that this is a good product if an engineer is spending lots of time on it.
do you
maybe
think
that-
that's
How
maybe
you
more
would
in a...
measure it is, sorry, Patrick,
No, go ahead.
is you would ask, for example, people how much they think they would spend on it, and then you would run the test. And then say, oh, I think it should be 2 minutes.
Mhm.
And then you can under deliver or over deliver on task, and then you can optimize. No? And then people see, oh, it was good, and you measure it. And if you do like really product design and interaction design, you measure it this way. So you have like, no, how much should the task take and how much took it? And then somebody has designed it, and again, did the people go the right path to the solution, or they were lost in between? So there's an optimal path to getting something done. And then you can see if they diverge from that optimal path. And sometimes the optimal path is not correct, so you have to change it to make them more happy because it's too long, and you can shorten it. So you can
No, that's fair.
optimize
That makes
It's
sense
not
now.
just
Yeah.
alone time spent on it.
Mhm.
I think this is, we can put it in the bucket of Martin questions.
No, but that's honest. Like, you don't want engineers to spend a lot of time on the software, because they should be doing like client work perhaps, or other things, responding to emails.
Exactly. Yeah. More time
I don't know,
trying
I
to
think-
find
I think
less
it
time.
would be the
wasted
best
Because
time.
way.
design is a
yeah.
commodity, okay? So structural design is a commodity, okay? So sooner or later, things will be done more automatically than they are right now. So I don't want the engineer to spend a lot of time designing structures because there's other parts of the product to be managed. So the shorter the period of time they spend on the design, the better.
Yeah, we get it. Patrick, what was you going to say?
No, I think, Martin, you're looking at it. It's fascinating, actually, talking about it. I think you're looking at it from like a deterministic problem-solving perspective, right? So it's like, okay, don't ask any problem-solving from me or any creativity or additional value add. Let me just do what I'm asked to do, and I want to do that with the maximum efficiency. So I think in that context, you do have a point. But shouldn't we all be paid to come up with new stuff and better ways of doing things? I mean, come on, man, guys. If I'm traveling, I can travel the fastest from A to B, or I can do, the old Chinese wisdom, the journey.
Yeah,
is
especially when
the
we speak
goal.
about UX, product UX.
Plus,
Yeah.
this will lead to my next question. If you have a game or something,
Mm.
then you don't want people to be spending little time on it. You want people to be spending as much time as they possibly can. So with that question, with that statement, Mo, I'm very curious. Have you considered someone from the gaming industry to do product design for you as an operator now?
I mean, depends what the game is. I mean, I have a great product designer already, or had that whole with a bit good product designer. So I'm really not looking for one, but I was just really curious about which products you can learn from in that space.
But what's the product?
And there are two things to change. There's like user experience and user interface. One is like how you can do something efficient and correct, and the other one is how much somebody enjoys doing it.
Mhm.
So you should get usually user interaction or user interface, right? I think that's Bluebeam. Bluebeam is great and very efficient, and people get it done. Could Bluebeam be more beautiful and enjoyable? I bet. I mean, I recently posted like this very strange message which I got out of Bluebeam. That's definitely
Yeah.
very confusing, saying there's a message, there's an issue. Yes, no help on a button to press on. Yeah, that's very confusing. That's like that's like not great user experience. I mean, it gives me an information, but it's nobody put the effort in to make it correct or lovely in that point. So that's like a minus point in user experience, but still the product worked. I get it out. I know it's a button, but it makes me not feel great. And making people feel great when they interact with applications, I think that's like which you see on commercial tools a lot. Where people really get into it, the scroll, use.
Yeah, but it
And I
needs to
think
have
you
more
can achieve
broad.
it with
Yeah, I think it needs to be have more broad use case. This software that with a great like UX that more people will use it. Yeah, I just think.
Can we move on to something else? Because as we're running out of time here, Mo, I'm really curious to get your opinion on whether you think that apps like DocuSign could be replaced by AI app builders.
Of course, they should.
I think that's a point. I mean, I was listening last time. I think the point on the lawsuit was, just getting to that, was that people who use Lovable, they just said copy DocuSign. And
They
DocuSign
did
has
that?
like, I think, not 200 competitors already, because it's like not hard to build. There's many competition already out there which do the same thing. I think in this case, it's just somebody was very sloppy saying, copy DocuSign design and make me DocuSign. That's very bad. If you would describe, make me a signature tool and so on, then it's much easier.
So timeout. I tease you a little bit. How can it be bad if the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, walks into a Stanford classroom and says, on the record, write the code that says steal everything from TikTok? I don't understand. I mean, Eric is telling us that should actually be the command.
No, I mean, you can do that. But I was said, that was a lawsuit about. I'm not saying it was bad or good. I said that in front of the law case, it's good or bad. And I think that's
I
like
think the
two
cheaper
things.
the better.
DocuSign, like also, I don't know, people know Carter, which is like a share management platform in the US. They're SaaS tools which push profitability so much, and they have like 100% market share at one time, or 90%. Yeah. And they are not making maybe enough revenue. They're very profitable, doing great. But somebody says, before you go IPO, maybe you should squeeze more out of people.
Mm.
And that the
Yeah.
case of Carter happened. I think in the case of DocuSign happened, where somebody else says, your margin is my profit. And that was the thing where it's
Beautiful.
really down to me. Say they try to get more profit margins and they push the price so high that somebody says, if they're charging $90, I can charge $10 and make millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the same with Carter. Carter squeezed people with a shitty product. And now they have like 5 competitors. And everybody is contacting their customers saying, hey, switch, much cheaper. You get the same product, the core product, and you lose. So you lose by thinking you can increase profits. You just create your own competition. Instead of trying to make a better UX, better product, being ahead, you try squeezing. And I think that will happen to a lot of companies which are like pure SaaS. People will come up with new tools, better tools, create more capacity, maybe even into some of the tools. And some of the big tools may die, especially if they're just a database. Yeah, they have just a lot of users, plus being at Salesforce is a database. I mean, they're trying to change, but it's not. It's a pure database with a interface. Probably
I fully
Procore is
subscribe.
a database with an interface. It's just a very specialized SharePoint on the end. If somebody would create a SharePoint version of it, and I think it should be very simple, say, copy Procore as a thing, and then you get a new SharePoint instance running with the same capacity, with the same interface, and then you just invite people to those. And Microsoft is big enough, and somebody can run it. I think that will happen if you just squeeze people.
Maybe we should forget the Turing test for AGI. And the new test of whether we're approaching artificial general intelligence is when you ask, hey, can you please copy this archaic construction tool? And the AGI just tells you, sorry, man, I'm not copying that shit.
Rebuild.
That wouldn't be intelligent, though.
That's a good test for the future.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's a very
Okay.
good one.
Mo, how is everything else? How's it going? You're hard at work currently, and I know you're not yet ready to announce what you're doing, but give us a flavor. How are you doing?
So before we go there, Siddharth asked, however, it might be difficult to get enterprise deals for apps made by Lovable and other vibe coding tools because of maybe IT and SOC 2 compliance.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, but then you build that in. I mean, that's like time to market. You build this.
Hey, why
and then
don't
you spend a week on getting SOC 2 and other stuff done?
Yeah, why don't you just
it's
create
not
an AI
you go
version
not
of
from
SOC
day
2?
one to enterprise, but easier now.
Yeah.
As you
My
see,
point
with
would be-
Carter, it's just a market product. DocuSign is legal document signing. So they are all very highly compliant tools, and that was the mod because they were so highly compliant, and that was hard to build.
Yeah. I think Mo connection maybe is-
Sneakers are blocking the signal.
Yeah, too much. Someone's listening.
Are you there,
Yeah.
Mo?
Yes, I got cut out. Sorry.
Mo, to Patrick's question, what are you currently doing? I don't think you're in a position necessarily to reveal too much, but anything you want to share?
Sorry for that. I don't know what's happening here. Hello, hello.
Yeah, we got
We can
you.
hear you.
Can you hear me? Good.
Yes.
I'm here. So,
Yeah. To Patrick's question.
what was the question? I forgot it. It was so
What's
panicked
the
about
latest in your
Greek
world?
Oh, no, I'm building. I'm testing the logo up there. I don't.
Yeah. I can see it. The orange one.
Reminds me of an owl.
I can't see anything.
see it here in it.
Mm.
I don't change
Ow.
anything. Nobody's here. The internet should work. But every time I try to talk about this topic, I get disconnected. I was saying I'm testing the logo, and I'm now in business mode, hiring a team, and yeah, testing it with pilot customers. Very homepage goes. I will come and talk more about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we suspend. Why don't we save it for a future? And we'll find out what Mo is finally working on. He's
Let's do
obviously
that.
not meant to
It is
reveal
so
it to the
secret.
world.
This
Yeah.
is all this is predicated.
in the
We will be
background.
the first step. All right, guys. Shall we? I would love to do the voice development with you, but I think we will save it for another week. Shall we wrap up?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks,
Mo.
Mo.
Thank you. Bye bye. Talk.